When you start living with the end in mind, everything starts to change. What are people gonna say about you? What message is your life gonna speak when you're long gone? Because you weren't born by accident. You didn't just happen to be where you're at and happen to watch this video. There is always a reason.
Got the sound back, so we'll see how we go. Listen, I hope everybody's keeping safe, keeping social distancing. As a matter of fact, yeah, sorry. We're good.
All right, so if you're joining us, just let us know where you're joining in from. We are on, we are good, we're ready to go. Preparation. What the word you use? Preparation.
I can't remember. I can go back and look and see. Preparation. Taking the time, using your shutdown time for preparation. Yeah. All right, everybody. Sorry about the
We're good. There we go.
Sound before. Welcome. Right. Please say where you are.
We're good. What's up?
In from?
Watching from NorCal. That's Allison. What's up from South Africa? Good morning. Northcote, Auckland.
If you tag me in, I can see.
Yep. I'm just gonna say living out loud.
Hope everybody's keeping safe, and today we're going to talk a little bit about how to maximize your shutdown time. All right.
So we're just giving it another minute. This podcast is really chill, so we're good. I'm really excited actually to have Terrance because it's totally the Lord setting this thing up. And I have so much respect for this man. So I'm going to introduce him officially soon. We've got Phoenix, Arizona over there. What's up?
What's up, Phoenix?
Watching
beautiful place in Phoenix.
Vienna, Austria. What's up? So good to have you guys on. We're just waiting for another 20 or 30 seconds before we just go live officially, as we just put this through the other socials that we have. So yeah, we're keeping a bit of social distancing over here.
I need to move over a little bit more.
We're in crazy times, man. But
not to be joked about, but absolutely, we're living in a very different time that I personally have ever experienced in my life since being on this earth. But you know, we're resilient people, and we'll get through it. It's just an opportunity for us to really wind down and really look within and see what we're actually, doing on this earth. For some reason I can't. Maybe I'll just go to your page.
That's so good. I'm on your page, I think. So it's nearly time to share this with people that will be interested. Terrance has an amazing story, amazing heart. He's doing great things. This is going to be a fun 45 minutes to an hour. And part of his story is going to have your jaw dropping.
As you come in, say where you're from. Say hello. Say hello in your native language.
So I've got you on there. I've tagged you on there. It's on my page. If you go to my page, it should be on there.
Okay. I think you've tagged my fan page on there. All right.
Right
there we go. Yep.
Boom. All right, guys. Well, we're going to go into it. We've got a few people on here. There's 20 people on there at the moment. So I'm just going to do our official introduction. We're going to go for it. So I just want to welcome you guys to our Fuse Life podcast, episode number 44.
Guys, I'm number 44. Not 45, but 44.
Not 45.
President Obama was the 44th president of the United States of America. So I'm happy to be number 44.
Wow. And this is my guess. Now, this is crazy, even how I've guessed. It's been a process of about 3 or 4 days through just divine connections. But as you know, Fuse Life, we're all about God-given assignment, God-given purpose. There's a reason why you are here. And you need to find that out, explore it, and engage it. And my guest is doing just that. He's had radical impact in my nation, even though he's from America originally. Now he would say he's probably Kiwi. All right.
I'm between Kiwi and the U.S. So I'm African American number one. But yeah, I New Zealand is my second home. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Come on. So I just want to welcome Terrance Wallace. Thank you so much for being on here. Okay, don't want to shake hands here. We're good. Man, social distancing is changing everything. So Terrance, firstly, I just want to say thank you for your time, for coming on here. And why don't you just tell people that don't know who you are a little bit about yourself, like what you do and that kind of thing.
So everybody, Terrance, to some PT, Pastor T. I'm from the west side of Chicago, the Austin community. I've been connected to New Zealand for a decade now, since 2010. And part of my, work that I do is I take disadvantaged kids from across really now the world and to provide a 24/7 accommodation. So they live in sort of affluent communities with great resources and connecting them to top education. So I've taken legal guardianship over 100 kids over this time. And just to provide for them and sort of break some of the cycles. Disadvantage, so most people know, is not necessarily, everyone is in poverty, but certain communities across the world that exist, those from, minorities communities really suffer. And, we see the COVID-19 virus, and we see the pandemic of how it affects the entire world. Well, there's another pandemic that's consistent cycles of poverty or disadvantagedness across the world as well. And I've just been called to provide a way out for some of those young people who will soon be our government, be those who will rule this world that we live in, but be able to genuinely lead and rule with a compassion heart, and also being able to not see race as a form of discriminate against other people. Yeah. So
wow.
Yeah. And obviously, Jesus being the center of it all. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have three. So there's 3 houses here in New Zealand that I was a part of setting up. The most recent is the Legacy House in the North Shore, not too far from here in Takapuna. And then also in the suburbs of Chicago. And then there's a replica happening in Indiana in April. And then another one in the Barrington area of Illinois as well. So there's several locations around the world that would like to see these homes replicated, but that's just a part of what I do now. I've learned now that I have several other things that I do. I'm also we have the Visionary Network, which we work with a group of people who have dreams and visions, and we just walk them through the path of taking their dream from being a dream to actually living it out. And so that's a blessing. And I also am co-founder of a company called Scan One, which is biometric technology. And in the next few months, we'll be doing facial recognition, which is fantastic and exciting. And also part of the New Life Covenant Southeast Church in Chicago. Yeah.
Man, you are doing
so a lot of things. A lot of things. I'm a bit hot. I'm going to take my jacket off.
Yeah, go for it. So hopefully you caught that. There's a lot going on. And I usually like to go back to the beginning with all of my guests. I know you have a crazy story, so we can go back as far as you want to go back. But maybe you can tell us a little bit about where this all began for you and your childhood, and maybe from 0 to 20 years old, some of that journey.
Absolutely. So some of you may know, have heard of seen some of the news stories around sort of the inception of my life. My mom is, she was a single mom. I have a large family. So my in New Zealand, there's, we talk about our whakapapa. So my whakapapa is Native American, Cherokee, and African American, which is my lineage.
Wow.
And my mom, my grandparents had a total of 14, 15 kids. I have 76 first cousins, and my mom only decided to have one. And she had me when she was almost 30 years old in the Austin community of Chicago. Community was quite cool, when I was growing up initially. And then, around my teen years is when drugs and gangs start really heavily coming into the community. And so my mom was a staunch woman. Like she was only a little short woman, but she didn't take any crap.
Yeah.
So she was very strict on me. because I moved from the local school in my community to a different school that was had a lot more diversity. I then discovered when I moved there that I had a learning disability. So I was labeled as a special education student very early in my education. And for me, that was a really, no kid wants to be labeled special educated, like you have special needs and so forth.
Totally.
However, it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. My mom's decision to move me from an environment that lacked resources into an area that had more resources. And not only that, but it had an environment that taught me how to coexist with other ethnicities and how to value the difference between, what other ethnicities brought, but also being confident in who I was.
Yeah.
And so it really was a life-changing moment for me in my life. And I think that combined with my mom raising me in the church really balanced me out or prepared me to position myself to hear from God. So of course, I know what it feels like. And it's everyone that's listening, this whole thing around living out loud and living your purpose. Oftentimes, you look at people who are successful, you look at the Oprah Winfrey's of the world, the Barack Obamas, you look at the Bill Gates and several other people around the world, the actors and the actresses and so forth. And you think that, these people are successful, they don't have any problems, and they never had any challenges. Michael Jordan is one of the most phenomenal or world-renowned basketball players in the world. And people, I don't care where I go, they always have number 23 in the Chicago Bulls jersey. Well, we haven't won a NBA series in I don't know how long. However, people still remember that moment. But even those people, Jordan had to go through cycles of being hit and knocked down, told no, and yet still developing the resilience to keep going. The same stands true in my own life. I was several things that I was hit with. I was hit as a child of not having my father in my life, my mom working 2 and 3 jobs to provide. I was hit with the community that began to be plugged with drugs and alcohol and gangbanging and so forth. I was hit with this learning disability that I never, I didn't know that I had until I got into this different environment. And so not being able to compete at the same level of other students was a hit. However, because of my mom's wisdom of planting me in the church, I'll say that, and me being able to grab a hold of the word of God and use that as my igniter of all things to keep going. I was sexually violated as a child as well. And so there's another hit. And so the thoughts of suicide. So I thought about committing suicide. And then I came home one day as a teenager and discovered my cousin who had shot himself in the head. And I found his body. Devastating experience. But it taught me something around that whatever we do in our own lives, it really does impact other people around us. And so every decision that we make, we have to keep in mind, kind of like with COVID-19, it's the government is obviously giving me a take and what they didn't take, but you actually are making decisions, not for yourself, but you're making decisions for other people. And I learned that very early in my life. And so that was another hit. Went through that, came out of it, but still carried this anger inside of me. Like, man, I'm only a kid and I've gone through so much in my life already and feeling as though, I can't take another hit. Where oftentimes where our misery is where my passages say our anointing is. And from that, I birthed it was called at the time, Contrary Winds Youth United We Stand, United We Expand. And I was 16 years old. Here I was developing and founding my own organization.
Wow.
But I really wanted to really state the fact that, although the news or the media was reporting all these negative stories around African American males in particular, that all of us were not gangbangers and drug dealers and murderers and so forth. But there was a group of us who were totally not that. And so it was about bringing opposites from across the track. So if there was, you had the geeks, those who were book smart, and those who were the tech geeks. And then you had those who were sports geeks and just bringing us together so that we can walk together on one track and sharpening each other. And so the thing that I was weak in, then somebody else was strong. And so we began to do that journey together. And I think through that experience, it taught me how to organize from a grassroots approach, and also how to deal with opposition. And you may have a vision or an idea that has really been burning in your heart to do, but fear keeps you from stepping out. I think it's those early stages in life that we encounter these obstacles or these hits that prepare us to know that no matter what, when you step out, things are going to work out for your good. And so I learned that through the Word of God, and keep pressing.
Let's go into this a little bit. So I can tell, obviously you speak at places, his story, but people probably wouldn't even really relate to some of what you're saying. Like, that's pretty crazy, right? Yeah. So let's go to some of these just a little bit as far as you want to go. But you talked about not having a dad growing up. Like, so where did your role models come from? Where did your influence come from? I know you talk about your granddad a little bit. Yeah. Maybe you can touch on that a little bit.
Yeah. So the role models in my life were obviously my grandfather, who was dedicated to the family, and he was a disciplinary. He was definitely somebody who disciplined you. This fly is really getting to us over here.
There is one random fly that just decided to show up.
The blood. So yeah, my grandfather, and then my sort of mentor growing up was my pastor, who's now my pastor. His pastor is John F. Hanna, of the New Life Covenant South Church. Was very intimate in my life, and helped me to navigate. And as I got older, there were several other mentors that were part of my, poured into my life. But yeah.
Wow. And then you touched on, as you're growing up and the drugs and everything coming in there, did you dabble in any of that?
It's interesting. So I never participated in drugs or alcohol. And the reason being because I felt that, and this is a God honest truth, everyone says to me now, are you a recovering alcoholic or something? Why won't you drink or anything like that? And the truth of the matter is that I always felt, because of the things that I had gone through, that I would be very easily become very dependent upon those things to deal or cope with what I was going through. Yeah. And so my dependency and coping came through my prayer life, church, worship. Sorry, these bug is in my ear.
I'm sorry, I want to kill this thing.
Hey, man, come on, clean up your setup. So those things, so I was really fearful to participate in any capacity because I saw what it did to people in my community. And so I just decided not to do it. And to this day, I had no desire to drink, no desire to even try marijuana, even though it's legalized in America now. It's my dependency. And I like, for those of you who are watching, and some of you may be people of faith, my complete resolve when I'm going through anything is my spiritual path. And I think that that's why I've been able to achieve some of the things that I've achieved in my life. Actually, that is the complete reason why. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Eric Thomas, I don't know if you know E.T. the hip hop preacher, but he talks about the same thing. He grew up around it, so he just never wanted it.
Yeah.
But you touched on another thing, being molested, going through that experience. That's crazy. Yeah. And a lot of people never bounce out of that.
Yeah.
Maybe you can touch on that quickly a little bit.
Yeah. So that was a horrifying time of my life. And number one, being ripped of your innocence, when it comes to your sexual, your life, and as a kid, the painful experience of going through that, but not only going through it, but who the individuals were. And it really, for a long time, messed up my emotional side of my life and also my identity. So for a long time, I questioned, my sexuality based on why did this happen to me? Was there something inside of me that really, made these individuals do this to me? But in the outcome of it, it has taught me, I think there's a side of me now. That's why I fight for kids. That's why I try to create safe environments for kids. My little way of thinking that, if I can create an environment that can protect them, then they will never, ever have to experience what I've had to experience or encounter in my lifetime.
Yeah. So was that tough? Did you have people came around you? So someone might look at you and go, man, you went through this. You saw your cousin get shot. How did you bounce out of it? How come you are not affected by it?
Man, Joseph, that's a great question. So again, this is when this is where I say like hits are gonna come. And and to God be the glory. The only way I have ever been able to bounce out of any of it, and the hits still come like now, they still come. But the only way that I've been able to bounce out of it is through my spiritual path. Like I feel like God has given me a divine connection to him directly, not through a pastor, not through a priest, not through anybody else. And I'm not like trying to be all, like spooky or super spiritual, but my journey of every hit that I've taken. And have I gone to counseling? Yes, I have gone to counseling a few times. But my absolute resolve has been the Spirit of God giving me the strength to endure, to number one, to not self-condemn myself for the experiences that I've had, but then also just to let me know that, everything happens for a reason. And taking every hit that I have had to encounter, both mentally, physically, and sometimes spiritually, every hit that I've taken has prepared me for what's to come.
Wow.
And taking that time and that resolve to not have a pity party, like that resiliency, because over time what happens is that your bounce back game becomes serious. Like you can get hit and hit and hit. And now it's like, okay, devil, bring it on. And like when you live in the time that we're living in right now, and you have these different experiences and you're on lockdown, and you're saying, okay, like if I ever have a situation that seems to be out of control, I'm thinking, okay, God, what sort of innovation are you about to give me now to navigate through this? And there is no situation in this life that we can encounter that there is not a way for God to give us a blueprint to navigate out of it. And that is the God honest truth. While you're sitting isolated right now in the shutdown season, there is a blueprint being downloaded that you're going to be a solution to somebody else's problem. And once we're in the mindset to receive that and accept that, we come out the gate like a rocket. Like we come out like a rocket. We come out like a rocket. There's always an opportunity for God to perform a miracle. And I'm always saying, okay, here I am. Use me for your miracle. And every single time, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter what your financial situation looks like, what your credit score looks like, what your relationship looks like, where your geographical location looks like. He always finds a way to prevail you in the situation. So every time I've taken one of those hits, he's done something different. And now, I now am sitting back, several years later and seeing my life now and saying there's knowledge inside of me. There is a tracking or an analysis that was done without me even ever writing it down, that's inside of me, that God now wants to transcribe that into some novel or some book. And so, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I see people got questions there.
People just commenting, they're loving it. I'm awesome. Vibing with everything you're saying. This is our Fuse Life message. I love it. I want to touch on a couple of things. Maybe you can speak on this. You mentioned, I think that's a big thing to talk about. A lot of people love to go to their party. Yeah. And maybe if you talk on that first, and then we'll move on to the next.
Yeah. So the whole thing around the pity party is like you are, at the moment that you are self-indulging in a pity party, you are only reflecting on yourself and how you feel right now. When God is saying, listen, everything that's connected to our lives, he's in control of. And right now is an opportunity. We pray like for those of us who are Christians and those of us who are spiritual, we'll pray and say, God, demonstrate your power. God, I want to see a miracle. I want to see miracle signs and wonders. But the moment he allows your life and your lifestyle to go into a moment where you need a miracle, you go into a self-pity party. Well, no, that's not a time to have a pity party, but that's the absolute time to celebrate, because you know God is about to work a miracle. And most times the miracle that's about to be performed is not just for you, but it's for everybody else that's around you that doubted that you were capable because of your education, that you were incapable because of where you come from, that you can never ever do anything on this magnitude. And the moment that it happens, you direct all of that glory back to God, because the truth of the matter is that in our own self, we can't do it. In our own ability, we cannot do it. But by the grace of God, the favor of God that rests upon our life when we completely surrender to him. Yeah.
Wow. There's another thing I want to hit on quickly, because a lot of people think, well, if you're a believer and you have God, then you shouldn't get. Here you're talking about getting hit, standing up. The righteous man gets hit 7 times, gets up 8 times.
Gets up
What's
again.
the deal with it? Maybe you can speak to that a little bit about getting hit, even though you're a believer. And some people,
Hey, listen, the Bible says the just shall live by faith, right? And so when living by faith does not mean, it didn't say the weapons will form, but they don't prosper. They may come and hit you, but it's not going to prosper. And so we keep getting up. It's the testimony of getting hit and getting up that people believe. If you never got hit and you just like live this old, life of peaches and cream, the silver spoon, who believes that?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, who believes that? I don't care if you're a millionaire, a billionaire. I don't care how much money you have. Everybody is going to have to encounter a hit.
Yeah.
The Bible says, blessed are they that are persecuted for righteousness' sake. My righteousness is in the purpose on which God created me. And when I begin to live that purpose out, I am going to get hit. But the hits do not stop me from moving forward in the purpose that he calls me for. Because if I stopped and I gave up, then it wasn't God's purpose that I was living out. It was my own purpose that I was living out. Come on, somebody. Sorry.
We're getting fired up here. So that leads me to the next part, where there's a crazy story of something that happened to you in the alleyway. Like, maybe you want to touch on that. So how old were you? What was going on at that time in your life?
So guys, what Joseph is referring to, I was carjacked and kidnapped at gunpoint many years ago now. But it's like, it lives in my mind like yesterday. I was carjacked, kidnapped at gunpoint, 3 gentlemen eventually with 2 guns. And even though I'm speeding through this now to tell the story, but this is another miracle of God, and God sparing my life, another hit that came along the way. I had one gun. So there was the first gun that was in my mouth. The guy was trying to, pull the trigger. I'm on my knees in the back of an abandoned house, tears coming down my face. I know I'm not supposed to be touching my eyes now, guys, but my eyes itching. I got hand sanitizer. But so the gun's in my mouth, tears are coming down my face, and I confess the word of God, Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against me shall prosper. And here's the thing, everybody. Once you discover your purpose of why you were created for, I think since I was a teenager, I knew what my purpose was. I knew what I was called to do, and I was actually living my purpose. And at this moment, the person that had the gun, these 3 guys, and the one that had the gun in my mouth, these were people that looked like me. They were my ethnicity. These are people that I felt called to, and yet my life the devil tried to make me believe that my life was about to be claimed by my purpose. And I made a decision to live. And when I say I made a decision to live, I began to quote the word, the Bible, Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against me shall be able to prosper. And as I continue to confess that, with the gun in my mouth, he tried to pull the trigger, but nothing happened. So the next guy grabbed the gun, tried to pull the trigger, but nothing happened. Then they got frustrated, grabbed the second gun. At this point, I knew that God was protecting me, right? Wow. So they pulled the gun out my mouth, and then the second gun, and beat my face in with the gun. 3 hits is what I remember. Eventually, I passed out after 3 hits. I get up finally, walk down the side of the 2 houses that I was by, knocked on doors for help, but no one came out to help me. And see, this is something, seriously, for those of you who are listening, we could sometimes be so consumed with our own things and our own stuff that we don't see when God is trying to put a blessing right before us, or allow us to be somebody else's answer or miracle or solution. So I looked down at the end of the block. There were 2 guys that were standing there. One I called the able-bodied brother, like really reflection of all of us who are on this live today or podcast. And he got in his car and drove off.
So he could see you?
He could see me.
You're calling out? Or?
Yeah, no, I'm walking towards them asking for help. He gets in his car, he pulls off. The guy that I called he's a sort of the alcoholic, the drug user and abuser in his family. He just happened to live in the corner house from that block. He has me sit on his front porch, goes in the house, get his cordless telephone, dials for the police and the ambulance to come. I'm sitting there, and the person that got in the front seat of my truck comes back around, but he's not in the truck this time. He's on foot, and so he walks right in front of me.
This is the guy that before had carjacked you?
Yes.
And had the gun in your mouth?
Yes.
Okay.
So he's on foot now in front of me, and I thought, this guy's going to kill me now. The moment he got in front of me, the gentleman, the angel, I call him my angel, he came out and he called him by his name. When he called his name, he took off running. Sometimes, and my pastor says this best, he says, one man's or one woman's obedience is connected to so many other people's destiny. You never know what your act of kindness is going to do for somebody else's life. As a matter of fact, all of us here exist because somebody at some point in our life made a difference and said, you know what, I need to change a life. I hope that this podcast or this live today is going to be that turning point for somebody.
Yeah.
God, I mean, the earth is on lockdown or shut down so that God can reshift your way of thinking, reshift you and to realign you with your purpose. And when purpose, timing, and season meets, it births destiny.
Wow.
In that moment when this guy came out and called that guy by his name, it was timing, and it was not quite seasoned yet, but my life was saved. I suffered 2 blood clots to my brain. My entire face was fractured. I almost died. So they took me from one hospital to another. And because of this one act, and several years later, so I'm laying on the couch and I'm saying, so I'm a youth pastor at the time when this happens, right?
How old are you then?
I'm about 20. I'm in my early 20s.
Okay.
I'm in my early 20s. I can't remember exactly what age, but I was
pretty
in my
young.
early 20s. Yeah. And all of a sudden, I'm laying on the couch and I'm saying, God, why did you allow this to happen to me? Like, wasn't like this is literally me on my couch on my bed of affliction saying, was not me being sexually violated enough to prove my love to you, God? Was not me finding my cousin who had committed suicide enough? Was not the 3 drive-by shootings to our house enough? Was not me being labeled special education enough? Was not my father being a part of my life enough? Now I'm carjacked, kidnapped, and I'm laying on my bed of affliction. And God says it's for my glory. And so I say to God, while I'm laying on the couch, like David in the book of Psalms, don't forsake me till I declare your glory to the next generation, right? Fast forward a few years later. So I get up from that. I finally get up from that. My face heals. I had to have 3 oral surgery. I never had to have brain surgery or plastic surgery, even with the blood clots. They all cleared. Thanks, glory to God. But I had 3 oral surgery because I was determined to smile, right? And so over time, like if you saw me today, you couldn't tell that I've been through what I've been through, right? Because God, and in my opinion, miraculously shifted the narrative of my story. The first story that was ever written about Terrance Wallace, and you can Google this, was the fact that I was sexually violated in a Black church, right? First story to go public, right? But when you look up Terrance Wallace now, you can see on every outlet, whether it's media on television, whether it's social media, whether it's print media, whatever, podcast, radio, it's going to show the true essence of the story of me living out my purpose. We cannot allow the hits in our life to define our story or the narrative of our story. However, you take that which tried to destroy you. The Bible says that what the enemy meant for evil, God meant it for our good. And the story of my life is a true testament to the goodness of the Lord in the midst of being hit and bouncing back. So I just want to encourage everybody, no matter what the situation looks like, no matter what happens in your life, whether it's your marriage broke up, you lost a loved one, whatever it is, it's all fuel that God can use to get the glory out of your life and for you to fulfill the purpose, the very reason you were created. And when you allow that purpose and that timing and that season to finally have an encounter, oh my God, get ready, because the earth is about to yield what belongs to you. And I think that I am finally in a season of my life where the earth is yielding what belongs to me through inheritance and legacy, not from my biological father or earthly parents, but from the Heavenly Father.
Wow. Do you have a crazy story, man?
It is crazy.
That part where you're talking about the able-bodied guy that you call him, like it's like the Good Samaritan. So when you're knocking those doors and you're injured, do you think they saw you? They saw you, heard you?
I absolutely think they saw me. Because, I mean, when you think about it, we see people all day, every day, and we see their situations and we could help them. We can make a difference, but we choose to walk right by them. And you never know that could be the key to unlock your next door that God's calling you through to fulfill your purpose.
Hey guys, I just want to take a quick minute to tell you about our Royal Hybrids group coaching program. Over a year ago, the Lord started speaking to me about a group of people, a tribe that would only get their value, their affirmation, that would only get their identity from who they are in God and nothing else. And from that place, they were going to do great things on the earth. In the last year, we have seen a whole bunch of people jump into our program, solidify themselves in their identity with God, and from that place, actually start to engage their purpose. Fuse Life talks about the 6 trees: your spirit, your soul, your body, and then your relationships, your finances, and your purpose. We have seen a whole bunch of people come through this, get solidified in who they are, and then begin their own projects, whether it's a teen mums project, whether it's a coaching, counseling business, or a painting business, publishing your children's book, publishing a puzzle book. We have seen people do all of these kind of things, and we just know that this is just the beginning. So you want to go to www.fusebornformore.com/Royal Hybrids, or just click the link in the caption and make sure to check out what we are doing. We would love to have you as part of our tribe. Now, back to the podcast.
But it might be uncomfortable. It might be a messy situation. You don't want to get involved.
Absolutely. Everybody want to keep their head down and ignore the situation. But sometimes you just got to dive in. You have to dive in. You really do.
There are people on this earth today that have been through way lesser than what you're saying and have not bounced at all. They hit the wall. They stayed at the wall. They're still at the wall. And one of the big things I feel we face even in the Western society is this thing of unforgiveness and bitterness. Maybe you can speak to that quickly on the condition of your heart. And was there a time where you actually actively went into forgiveness towards this molestation issue, towards this gunman issue? Was it?
Yes, there was, absolutely. With the whole the molester situation, I definitely had to go into a forgiveness of myself and then the people that did this. Because I was angry, like even when I became of age and finally, saw what had happened to me, the effect that it had on my life. And I seriously wanted to just grab a gun and go and shoot some people up. And it wasn't just the people who had hurt me. It was the people who had hurt me, plus the people who I told that did nothing. And so it really made me angry. Like as an adult, it made me angry and I wanted to do something. And God had to grab my heart. Like when I tell you, I can't explain to people who don't know God or who have a surface understanding of who God is. But when you've encountered God in a real way, there is a heart tenderness that it's almost like a compelling, you have to forgive. In order for this not to be the end of your story, you have to forgive so that you can move on and do what I actually created you for. And you cannot give the enemy the victory in this. And so I made a decision to forgive. Not only, that situation, but even those that had carjacked me and hurt me. My heart went out to when I went to court and saw this individual in the courtroom. My heart went out to him because I was like, man, this is only a kid in my eyesight, it's still a kid. But yet cycles in their family going through the same thing over systemic family, generational cycles. And so I didn't have to make a decision that when people hurt me, I may have, I'm not superhuman or super spiritual. There is a natural reaction practically that will come out sometimes. But my heart is, okay, nope, I got to forgive. I got to move on. And we have to consciously make those decisions to forgive and move on. But the biggest challenge I find amongst humans is that we are very challenged to forgive ourselves. And so sometimes you feel like you deserve what's happening to you. No. God said that he's given us life and that more abundantly.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important for us when you talk about living out purpose and fulfilling your dream, and somehow we attach prosperity as far as financial prosperity to that, and think that, oh, well, I'm not prosperous because I don't have X, Y, and Z. Well, no, pursue the talent, pursue the thing he created you for. Like, so your talent, Steve Harvey says it's this way. He says your talent is what you get paid for, but your gift, your calling is what you were made for. And the Bible says that our gift will make room for us, and wherever it go, it will prosper. So you begin to pursue that gift, that talent, and things are going to happen for you that will unlock the doors to wealth and prosperity. But wealth, just monetary wealth, is not wealth.
Yes, right.
It's not at all. So I want people to really understand that. Don't decide that this is my purpose because it's going to give you this.
Yeah.
You go into a purpose saying, this is my purpose because it is a solution to somebody else's problem. The moment you discover that and unlock that, I'm telling you, the windows of heaven will open up and it will pour out a blessing. It will make you uncomfortable. Let's be real. It's going to definitely make you uncomfortable, but it will definitely put you in a position of surrender. And when you surrender, then God says, I can trust you with it.
Yeah. Wow.
Sorry, guys. I get very passionate about that.
This is good, man. Hey, if you guys got any questions, you got anything like that, just put them on here. We're going to answer these towards the end of the podcast. Now we're going to move into this next phase, because you have been in New Zealand now for 10 years. You have come from another nation. You've taken some crazy steps of faith. I want to speak to this a little bit because I believe God's spoken to each one of us about our future. Like, some people believe that God's never told them anything, but he for sure has. And maybe we didn't have the fortuitude to walk it out, to get out of the boat. Maybe you can speak to that, because you're in New Zealand. Like, when I came to America, people thought New Zealand was a part of Australia. It's the other side of the world. So let's speak to that a little bit. How the heck did you end up in this nation? And what courage did you find up there, you know?
How did I get to New Zealand?
Yeah, and why?
Why?
And was it easy?
Hey guys, you guys gonna definitely think I'm some like Looney Tune after this, but it was I lived in the south suburbs of Chicago at this time when the Lord spoke to me. I was down in my office in / prayer room, and there was this globe, and I was praying, and I just felt the Lord say, you got to go to New Zealand. And I'll be quite honest, I looked at the globe and saw how New Zealand is these two little islands, and I saw all this water, and I was thinking, man, heck, I don't even know how to swim. And so shortly after that, as a matter of fact, 4 weeks later is when I came over to New Zealand, leased my house out, got on the airplane, and came over.
No, wait. What do you mean? Like, did you know anyone here?
No.
Nothing.
Didn't know anybody here. I didn't have a job here, anything, and I came. Yeah. And
you rented your house?
Yeah, we rented an apartment. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I was in a relationship at the time, and we both came. Yes. Yes. We both came. And it was an absolute step of faith for me. I had never lived out of the country at any point of my life. And for those of you who've never left out of your own particular country, life is different in every other, every country you go in, it's a different culture, it's a different life. And I came over and thought this was a paradise, and was wondering what am I doing here, because of what I felt my calling was. And after about 4 or 5 weeks, saw a news story. And that news story was around Maori and Pacifica education underachievement. And I saw very quickly, kind of drew the line. It was sort of equivalent to African Americans and Hispanics back home, and thought I can do something about this to help. And so I traveled around the country, did my sort of theory of change and scoping out what the problem was or the challenges were, and very quickly discovered that, educational systems, whether public or private, really is the same sort of education. And those who are educators are taught same outcomes of requirements to achieve, and teaching kids how to achieve. And found out that, educators were being forced to deliver a curriculum when kids needed social service needs. And so they tried to fill in that, which they were not qualified for. The lack of resources in communities and homes were quite different than those of affluent communities. And so I thought, if I can get kids to live in those communities that were well resourced and access that education, then there was an opportunity to break the cycles of gaps within those families. And so I sought out to do it. Non-government supported all this time, all the generosity of people around the world. And obviously right here in New Zealand, amazing people here in New Zealand, I would say, and they got on board and they began to support. And God gave me some amazing kids. I always call them my heroes, because oftentimes we go and we put ourselves on the line to be of service and to be a solution for somebody else's problems. But ultimately you benefit from that encounter because seeing them live out their lives and reach their full potential and fulfill their dreams, whether it's becoming a doctor, a lawyer, professional rugby player, or to own their own company. Those are all things that, because of my step of obedience, they were able to fulfill that. And,
wow.
and it's been amazing seeing them. And I call them my kids because it wasn't, people see, sort of charitable organizations or not-for-profits as, you're doing a good deed. But for me, it was my lifestyle. It's my lifestyle. These are my, no matter where they are in the world, these are my kids. And I would give them the shirt off my back if I had it, if they needed it. Sorry. And so that's how I've been here. And
I just want to speak to this a bit because this is massive what you're saying. I think you're saying it like it's, you came here with in a relationship, you came here, you had nobody here, you months later see this thing, right? And then you decide to do something about it. What was your first step?
Oh yeah, so practically my first step was I started taking Tadeo classes. So I started learning the language.
Oh wow.
So Terrance Wallace took in one, no Chicago and what ho. No, just giving my fucker puffer, but no.
Wow, so you can speak Tadeo.
Yeah, not fluently.
Yeah.
I probably understand it more when someone speaks it than me speaking it, but I do speak enough to understand. And I kind of joke with the kids on a lot. Being in the house with them and them speaking their language fluently, whether it was Maori or Pacifica, Samoan, Fijian, Tongan, it's a combination of all of them. And so it really helped me to kind of learn and understand, when people were having conversations, and also how to participate to a very low degree.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what I did first. And then I traveled around the country to some of the most remote and impoverished communities and saw the difference between the have and the have-nots, and saw you could immediately see the distance in this country as well as the US when it comes to certain communities. Yeah. And so after going around, I hosted these town hall meetings, these HOEs around, and just hearing people's heart, hearing what they had to say. And in New Zealand, it's quite interesting for those of you who aren't from New Zealand. You get a lot of it's just people that come and they prophesy, and they always say these amazing prophecies for the native people, indigenous people of New Zealand. Yeah. But no one, in my opinion, ever took time to say, not only this is the word from the Lord for your people, but I'm also here to help. And I think what God called me to do was no, you're going to be here long term, and you're going to help, and you're going to do this. And not only that, but then I want you to also extend this to your own people. And so it was never my intentions when I first came here to go back and do this back at home. It happened when I started doing it for my people. I mean, for the people in this country, and my boys will have to come home and do stories around the gang violence in the city of Chicago, and I'm thinking whoa, man. And then I would be up at meetings and having to speak, and somebody would shout out, well, why aren't you doing this in your own country? Da, 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 da. And so it was So you go, so I know that people would look at my story, especially after the End Zone film from Vendetta Films, film director Robin Patterson produced this film on the work that I had done here. And people would not believe that even the hits within this country that I had to endure to live this out.
Yeah.
But it was worth it. When you really know that God has called you to do something, you make sacrifices that you would never think that you would make in order for it to happen. I dare mention the time that I was here. There were 12 people in my family who died in Chicago while I was here. I could not make it back to Chicago to those funerals or those tungis because I was on assignment.
Yeah.
I'll never forget one Christmas, my aunt who grew up in the house with my mom and I, she passed away. And I remember I was doing the second house, renovating it. And I remember being there by myself on Christmas Day, because it was Christmas Day here, and we're a day ahead of Chicago. And they were doing her funeral there. And so they had to cite me into the funeral.
Man.
And I remember sitting there saying, man, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? I'm here. I'm working on this house to try and get it ready for the kids to be in a few weeks. And I said, God, this is a sacrifice. This is a real sacrifice. And I think the reality of sacrificing to fulfill your purpose, when you come up against that, choosing between loyalty to your family and loyalty to your purpose,
man,
that's a hard thing to practically kind of understand mentally in your brain. Like, it's just like, what am I doing? And I made the decision then that I couldn't return back, and I had to do this because I needed to get it done. And understanding that my fulfillment of this with Terrance, and not even at this point for the kids, but it was for God, because this is what he gave me to do. And I think that that's a tough thing for anybody to understand, unless you are someone who has made that same sort of sacrifice. Everyone's going to call you crazy. They're going to call you, it's lost your mind. You're having a mental breakdown.
You don't love your family.
You don't love your family. I have taken a lot of hits. Like, when I tell you I've taken a lot of hits, and I've still taking a lot of hits, but I have come to this resolve. I sincerely have come to this resolve that when my life is over, there will be nothing left inside of me that I was left to give, because I am going to empty myself, fulfilling my purpose. And loyalty and commitment to any human being that is not within that, then I have to make a decision to follow what I believe God has given me to do. And if I'm wrong in doing that, charge it to my head and not my heart. But I have to fulfill this. It's like, I got to get this out of me. I have to do this. And I have caused a lot of problems, both in my biological family as well as, friends and relationships, because of my decisions regarding this. And it's okay. It's okay. I don't, I'm not angry with them. I'm not disappointed in them or any of that, because I know that they don't understand it until you understand your purpose enough to know that God impregnated you with something that only you can give birth to. As a matter of fact, I don't even know you know this, but scientifically, there's only one other person in the entire world that carries some of the same skill set that each one of us have. One person out of there is only one other person that has the almost identical, not quite identical, but almost identical skill sets that one individual carries. And I think God did that for a reason. I think he did that because when we decide that we don't want to do something, or we just like, you know what, we're going to choose our own life and not choose a life that he has prepared for us, then he's always got to back up. Because what he wants to achieve in this life is so much bigger than what we ever could have thought, or what we ever want for ourselves. Yeah.
Man.
Sorry, guys. I'll be going on a rant. I'm so sorry.
Hey, this is so good. I want to speak to a couple of things. So, tall poppy syndrome. Recently, we had an athlete, Israel Adesanya, who does UFC. I don't know if you're a combat fan, but he won the New Zealand Sportsman of the Year award. Okay. And he spoke to this because he's ethnically Nigerian, but he's raised over here. But he talks about never feeling, like, even though he believes he's Kiwi, doesn't always feel like Kiwis will let him be a Kiwi. And then he talked about tall poppy because he had to fight the whole way through, and he's a champion of the world, but still. Maybe can you talk to that a little bit, because you're coming from a nation where, I mean, last year I was there 3 times, and people are just confident. They're confident what they can do and confident what they can't do. Like they'll just say it. You know?
Yeah.
Can you talk to that a little?
So that's one thing when I first came to New Zealand that I really realized, not so much that I felt people were hating on me, but mainly that whole tall poppy in communities, constantly, like it's just this constantly saying, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. And people start believing that. Like they really start like, oh, well, yeah, no, maybe I can't, maybe I can't. When I grew up, the only thing, like the things that I remember is that you can be the president if you want to. You can be an astronaut. You can be whatever you want to be. You can be like that's the thing in America. You can be whatever you want to be. Now I think it's a little different, to be honest. Back home, but it's if you are ever going to break free from tall poppy, you have to have a connection with a group of people, and not a spiritual connection first, but a group of people that that support that which you are trying to achieve in your own life. Like I don't know that it's as big here, but in America, you know, it's big to have a life coach, to have a mentor, to have not just one mentor, but several mentors that kind of helps and support you and hold you accountable to achieve those things that you want to achieve. That's why within End Zone, that's one of the major roles that I played, was that like, no, you can be this. You want to go to Berkeley? You can go to Berkeley. Let's find out how you can get to Berkeley. Yeah. And I think sometimes people in New Zealand deal with like they really do believe in, okay, well, this is what it looks like. This is if one plus one equals two, it's always going to be that way. Or two, like I know maybe I should use something different. If we are one plus two equals three, then it's always got to be that way. 1 + 2 = 3. It can never be 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. There's always a way to achieve what you want to achieve. Sometimes you just have to go out the box. This allows you to enter the space of being an innovator. You know, you come up with a way. Like I will look at something, and if there's a problem, everyone's saying, you know, it can't be done. It can't be done this way. And I'm always like, okay, no, there's a way to make this happen. You know, when everybody was saying that Goliath couldn't be beat, while they were all out there scrambling and being fearful, David's like, no, I can take care of this. I can solve this problem. That's me. Like, I mean, that's, and I think that's the mindset you have to be when you're really trying to live out purpose. You can see obstacles and say, well, oh no, I can't do that. I don't have enough money, this, and this. I don't know the person to contact. I will bang down the door. There is a way, there is an answer, there's a way to make this happen. Why? Because I honestly see kids. My purpose is being kids on one side of the street. I'm on the other side. And in the midst there's these guns, these bullets flying. And I have to find a way to get across the road, get them, and then pull them to a place of safety. Wow. And that's how you have to be about your purpose, or your passion, whatever it is that you were created to do. There is always somebody passionate about the exact same things that you are passionate about. I say passion is a universal language. It knows no boundary. It doesn't see color. It brings people from opposite sides of the track together for one common cause. And that one common cause is inside of you, and God entrusted you to give birth to it in the earth. And once you decide, make up in your mind that you're going to adjust your lifestyle to protect what's inside of you, you're going to change your eating habits. You're going to change your diet. I was just talking to my brother Joseph earlier today. Like my eating habits, my diet, everything changes because I have purpose to fulfill. And I cannot be the person that aborts my own baby. I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? So we have to guys, I hope this is blessing or helping somebody.
Is this helping you? Come on, let us know if it's helping you. There's a lot of people saying so good, so good. I want to talk to money a little bit. You said money. All right, this is a big deal. This costs money. What you're doing costs money. And you said you're not government funded. Can you talk to that a little bit? Because a lot of people will say, man, I have these dreams, I have this purpose, but I got no money.
I got 5 on it. So listen, yeah. So so in all sincereness, if you begin to walk by faith and living it out. So the practical, I can talk about the practical things that I did. But that's one thing. So the Bible says to write the vision, make it plain, right? So I wrote the vision. I made it plain, but then faithful without dead, I had to action some things. And so I was not afraid to ask. When you are afraid to ask, please write, if you don't write nothing else down, write this down. If you are afraid to ask, that means that you are focusing on yourself. When you're asking for someone else or something that's beyond you, you are freely willing to go and put yourself on the line.
Wow.
To say, I put myself on the line with my request because this has to live.
Wow.
And it's bigger than me. So I did that, and I do that now. I will ask. I don't care. You can say no. My feelings ain't hurt because I'm not asking for me. Like if I was something that I needed, yeah, I'll like, man, I need this for me. But no, this is not for me. This is for somebody else. This is for generations to come. This is breaking generation cycles right here. You have the opportunity to be a part. So I call them my investors. Like this is an investment in life of the next generation. And people give. Like they can decide they can give $5, $4. I don't care what you give, but I need you to give something. I need you to invest into what our tomorrow looks. You have to, if you are not a good communicator in that way, then you pray and ask God, send me someone who can communicate on my behalf of these things. Because some of us, we have things that we're good with and some things that we're not. So I always say I'm not a great writer. So let me find me somebody who can write for me, but I'm the best communicator of what my purpose is. Because no one can close a deal or open a door like I can when it comes to what I'm most passionate about. And I've learned that no matter how much you pay people to do that kind of stuff, it ain't gonna. They're not gonna have the convincing closer that you need to get what you want. And so you have to develop the confidence that you need to be able to verbally communicate, show up to a meeting, and articulate exactly what it is that you hope to achieve with whatever it is that you've been called to do. So I managed to do that. Not only did that combined with God's favor. And his ability to teach me on what to say. I never took, and I'm just going to tell you guys the God honest truth. I didn't take one class to teach me on what to do when it came to this. This was all a blueprint from heaven. I prayed consistently and I wrote down whatever it is that I felt God was saying for me to do.
And these ideas that came to you, it's not like you had some crazy open-eye vision, right?
No, it wasn't. These are ideas that came to me. It wasn't no open-eye vision like this. Oh, wow.
Some people wait for that. They think an angel's going to show up, music's going to show up.
No. The angels didn't show up. They didn't play a whole symphony. None of that. These were ideas that came to me. I would be praying, and then I'd be like, okay, I can be watching a TV show or program, an idea come to me. Write that down. Boom, boom, boom. Let's try this. My first YouTube videos that I ever done, literally, it was just, thank God for a friend of mine, Kami, who was very helpful with videoing this whole thing. But everything that I did was purely downloaded. Say this, do this, do this, do this. And I look up 10 years later and I'm like, wow, how did I make it from doing a first, in the office interview, sitting in front of a camera for the first time doing a YouTube video, or in front of the house talking about I seen them do this on Extreme Home Makeovers. We can do this. Come on, let's make a difference, to being, on all these media networks and doing this whole big film and cinemas, to now, about to become an author. It all happened because I was developed, first of all, the ability to listen and hear clearly. But then the other thing is that you have to be bilingual and culturals. You know what I'm saying? Some people say you have to be bilingual in language. I say you have to be bilingual when it comes to different ethnicities, right? Because your message if what your purpose is beyond your people, you have to now begin to observe and understand everyone else's perspective, so that when you come with your solution, it has a much wider impact beyond you. Yeah. Kapai?
Wow, this is so good. Look, you guys got any questions? You better ask now. We've already been going for over an hour.
Oh, have we?
Yeah, hour and 5 minutes roughly.
I'm so sorry, everybody.
No, this is awesome. It's so good for me to see someone who is in it, doing it in a phase that's just past the beginner phase. You know, like it is so good to hear this from someone in the battlefield. If that's making sense, right? I'm so excited for what you carry, who you are, everything you're saying. It's pumping me up.
Awesome.
Awesome. I want to ask you something here. So, okay, so you get these blueprints. Can you maybe share one story of the first time somebody said, okay, I'm going to put money into what you're saying, like what that was like and what kind of happened?
So in New Zealand, there is a foundation called the ASB Community Trust, right? And then there's the Vodafone Foundation of New Zealand, right? And so the first money that was put in, the first money that was put in was my own, first of all. But then the vote.
Are you good to say how much, or?
I don't even really know how much it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason, because I just want to bring up the fact that if I'm not going to believe in my own thing to put money in it, then how is someone else going to believe in it?
Right. No. So you have to be willing to put your own money. So I faithfully, am even now a tither into what God has told me to do. So that's
no-brainer.
Honestly, it's a no-brainer, and it's forever going to be that way. A giver into it. Cool. When the Lord calls me home, it's written into my will that a percentage of my legacy will go into what my purpose is. What I was going to say is that the ASB Community Trust in New Zealand, what is now known as Foundation North, but they had done their round of funding. This is the foundation, right? I emailed every single board member to tell them about the End Zone Project. Till I got someone to say, "Oh, we'll meet with you." I went in and met with the lady. I won't say who she was, but I went in to meet with her, set her down, and she says, "How much money?" So you always got to know how much money you need going in the door. So I said what I need, and she said to me, "Well, our funding has ended, and da da da." And I said, "Well," she's like, and she asked me if there was any religious aspects to what I do, and I says, "Well, yeah, this whole thing exists because God called me from Chicago to New Zealand." And she said, well, she's like, I just want to tell you something. I said, listen, you can decide to fund me or not, but I'm not changing what God called to be, because this is what it is. And I said, so if you tell me that I can't have the faith aspect a part of what we're doing, then you can keep your funding. But this can't work without this. And I said, then we wouldn't have these results if I didn't do it this way. And so she says, well, no. She's like, no, I'm not saying that. She said, I just wanted to know how. I just had to ask the question. And she says, listen, whatever you guys are doing, whatever you're doing that's working, that's the only thing we care about. And Foundation North has been one of the biggest supporters of the End Zone Project, End Zone Education Foundation, since its inception. And I'm talking about big. And so I want to say to you that's from a foundation perspective. But I've had individuals who have given enormous amounts of money, like enormous. You would not believe that individuals could give these kind of dollars, but because of the integrity of my process, my character, and how consistent I've been over a period of time, people entrust me with that. So I have received, and I'm not lying. End Zone, as I said before, has never been government funded, but over time, it's a fully operating $1 million sort of organization in its own right. And that came with a number of people who were involved, whether they were board members, whether they were people, supporters, advocate Sorry, I can't even speak right now. Advocating for us.
Yeah.
To make it work. And I think that it's important that once you know that what you have birthed is something that can be of a solution for anyone, you have to continue to grow it. And so sometimes growing, let me talk about this part. So you have to, so the first two houses I pulled, that's a foundation of its own. I'm not like physically a part of it any longer. That one over there. So then I go out and I replicated the other ones, free me up to replicate the other ones. You have to be willing to share the vision in order for it to grow. If you try to hold on to everything for yourself, then that says that it's all about you. And God may allow you to be the blueprint carrier to birth it. And then it's kind of like when your kids get old enough, then it's okay. Yeah. You're gonna now you got to be off on yourself, go to university, blah blah blah, and then you keep going on. Your family keeps growing, keeps building, so forth. Does that make sense?
Man, yeah.
Somebody
Amazing.
wrote a question.
There's no question.
Just blown away by the inspiration and encourage. I have a similar heart for you. Awesome.
Yeah, because you're very thorough with what you're saying, what you've been through. I don't think anyone really should have any question. This is such an amazing story. I'm so thankful to God for connecting with you, because obviously I have a similar thing as well in this nation that I want to do. And also that purpose, man, like it's in my blood, like it's in your blood, you know. So normally, like as we're wrapping something up, if you have any questions, you better throw it up now. As we wrap up a podcast, I usually ask people for a one-liner or a wisdom bomb or a quote that's really powerful for them in the current season. What would that be for you?
One quote, people. Let's see. Hi, everybody. One quote. One quote for the people. I think I'll say this again. That when purpose, timing, and season meets, it births destiny.
Yeah, I love that.
And I really sincerely believe that. And God can perform the miracle where your faith stands and your doubt dies. And you just have to know that. You have to know that. Start believing in what's inside of you and what the ability that He's already given you, and just start moving, start doing stuff. And it's okay to fail. You know, sometimes you're gonna fail, and probably that's a part of the plan. You can learn something. Don't look at it as a failure. Look at it as a learning opportunity. Yeah.
Come on. Yeah. Well, Mr. Wallace, this has been amazing. We've gone for like 70 something minutes. So
Lord have mercy.
Mercy on the listeners. So that looks like you guys really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. And I know this is not the last time I will be speaking with this man on camera. So I'm really excited. Maybe something will come from this. And I just want to say thank you on behalf of everybody. And I want to say thank you for me and thank you for who you are, what you're doing, what you carry, and for spending time being with me. I don't know where this flag came from. We were in here for about 40 minutes before it started. There was no fly, no sound issue, and everything came on just when we began. But anyway, that's us, guys. We're done. That's episode 44. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, share this with people. They're going to be encouraged and uplifted. And obviously, you can connect with Terrance. I put the links all over there. He's got a website, terrancewallace.com. You can connect with him on Facebook, Terrance Wallace, and then also on Instagram, I am Relentless Faith, which I love. So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.
Faith and patience. Faith and patience. Patience means allow it to happen. Stay the same. Stay persistent. Keep going. Faith, know that it can happen at any moment. Get excited because it can happen at any moment. You are so close. Don't quit now. Keep pushing. You got this.